So for those of you who don't recognize this page in front of you right now, we're using the community projects page to drive the agenda. If you have other agenda topics that you want to talk about or would like addressed, then let's add them in here, and we will try and either find a speaker or give you the podium at an upcoming meeting, or even today's if we have time. So with that, I'm going to just kick it off with the first proposed agenda item, which is basically my recap of the upcoming events. And nope. The first thing that we have that I've just announced, we found a room during KubeCon, and we're going to hold OKD office hours from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Pacific on the November, I should have said 19th here. Let me just edit that. So if you are coming to KubeCon, we will be, Christian and myself and anyone else who's interested will be hanging out there for 2 hours, drinking copious amounts of coffee. And then the other thing that we have is I have a number of speaking slots for upcoming OpenShift Commons gatherings, and if anybody from the OKD working group would like to do the lightning talk, we'll have a small slide deck from the gathering that's next Monday in San Diego at KubeCon, and I'd just like to, each time we do an OpenShift gathering over the coming months, to keep promoting OKD, getting more people to test it and give feedback on it and contributing to it. So if you are able to come January 29th to London, to San Francisco on April 26th, or to the KubeCon at Amsterdam on March 30th, I'm hosting gatherings there, and I'm going to put that in. If none of you show, I will do it. And then the other thing is, I wanted to see if we could schedule sort of a face-to-face OKD, Fedora, CoreOS working group meeting at DevConf CZ on January 24th to 26th, and I've asked for a room for that. And Christian and I think we put Danny's Tomia's name on it as well, submitted a paper to see if we can get room and publicized about OKD and the roadmap and everything there as well. So those are the other upcoming events. If you guys know of other opportunities to promote, recruit, and get people to work with us, let me know, and I'll try and find speakers or get there myself, or figure out how to get Christian wings so that he can fly around, and Danny too. Any questions about that? Any volunteers?
I'm pretty sure Christian can have wings anywhere he wants.
I think he comes with wings. So that would be my thing. So yeah, so that's just my spiel for the beginning to kick us off. I'm trying to get the word out there about OKD4. We have an open task to write an article for the Fedora magazine. Maybe once we get through today's update, we can transcribe that and some of the instructions on how to build and turn that into the Fedora magazine post that we proposed writing at the last meeting. So without further ado, if there's no questions about those talks, just email me or associate your name with one of those dates in the agenda, and I will keep asking at each meeting. So Christian, you want to take over the screen now and maybe do your OKD update? And oops, that's person. And
yeah, sure, I can do that.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, so I'll actually just switch the machine for this screen. 1 second.
Yeah, steal it from me. I'm waiting with a lot of patience for this because I heard of a few roadblocks yesterday, so I'm hopeful that they got cleaned up.
Okay, you should be able to see my screen now.
Yes, we do. You might want to make it a tiny bit bigger, if you can make the font a tiny bit bigger. But
I'm not sure. Does it work for you?
that works nicely. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. I see a dashboard that doesn't say OpenShift Container Platform.
So yeah, you can see the OKD branding. And we are actually, this is a cluster Vadim has created for us. So thanks, Vadim. This great work, by the way. He's been doing lots of fixes and moving us forward. So without him, we wouldn't be here right now, yeah, thank you, Vadim, for that. I wanted to say that first. Let's have a look at the nodes that are in the cluster right now. You see it's 3 masters, 3 workers, and let's have a look at this master. So the OS image we were booting from is a Fedora CoreOS preview image, which also means that we're running spec 3, ignition spec 3. Yeah, and this is really the first really working cluster we've got so far. So great progress. We'll have
yes.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have a proper alpha release. I hope by next Monday's OpenShift gathering, OpenShift Commons gathering, so that everybody will be able to download it and test it out. Yeah, there's not much more to show. Maybe let's have a look at the operators real quick. Oh.
Maybe good.
Is Operator Hub automatically configured with OKD? Because it used to not be, and there wasn't really any instructions on how to set that up.
So I'm not really sure what config it uses right now. What we want to ship in the release is the Operator Hub with the community catalog, I think it's called, or the community operators, which I think this should be. Okay. There might be more operators in here right now than we'll eventually get. We'll probably just get those with the community thing in OKD for the beginning.
That's because this cluster still contains an actual pull secret, so we get all the things as if it was a standard OCP. But eventually we would be able to deploy it without a pull secret, and some operators would just be gone.
Exactly. So yeah, and I hope by next week we'll have that all set up so that you can just download it without a pull secret and install and tinker with it.
Okay.
Do we expect that all of the installation methods that are currently in OCP should work with OKD?
So we'll definitely exclude Azure for the beginning because we sort of had to rip that out of the installer for now to get the Spec 3 support. But yeah, in the coming months we'll aim for parity there, and moving forward we want to support new platforms in OKD first.
So we will have at least OpenStack and Overt and things like that all supported.
Yeah, I guess if that's supported in the installer right now, we should be able to support it in OKD.
I think that's the testing comes into play here now. Getting other members of the working group to try and test on other platforms. The bare metal. Yeah.
So those two are the main ones that I'm interested in trying this out with because that's what I have. So
yeah.
Hey Christian, it's Danny here. The pull secret, when it's gonna come, how you guys sort out what's the plan over there with regards to the installer, which still validates on the pull secret to not be to be an empty array. So how you guys, what's the plan over there? Can you share a bit?
I'm not actually super sure. Do we need a pull secret if the images are just available without any login?
If you're using the installer, which I know, and Vadim can jump in and correct me, if you use the installer, which I know, it does validate on the pull secret to not be an empty array.
Okay, then we'll probably change that in the fcos branch of the installer until we find until we sort of align that and merge everything from the fcos branch back in. We're not quite sure yet when that can happen. Maybe in the 4.4 time frame. Maybe we'll have to wait until the 4.5 time frame. Really depends on management and the architects to decide when OCP is going to move to Spec 3. Those are ongoing discussions, and yeah. So,
and the images and the OKD images which are spit out from the CI, they end up in Quay, is it? Or you guys found a different home?
No, I think it'll be Quay.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
what yeah.
All right. Cheers.
There are a couple questions in the chat. Philip is just asking, when do we think we can have a working release of OKD4? And Diane has happy ears, and thinks that we could have something out. At least that's the next topic, or one of the next topics is instructions on how to build your own. But the secret thing sounds like it still needs to be resolved. Is that going to take more than next Monday to resolve the secrets requirement, or
No, I think we'll have to fix that before to be able to actually have it openly out in the open. Yeah, so I'll put that on the OKD project board on GitHub right now.
yeah, okay, so do that.
But that shouldn't be a huge task. We probably just have to remove the validation then, if there is one.
And Vadim has just answered.
Or we could have a dummy value.
Right, that might be an easy workaround as well.
Yeah, because I expect that. So my thinking is that if people want to transition from OKD to OCP, then being able to put in a real pull secret and switch things around from the installer or whatever would be useful. And also having a dummy value means that the validation part doesn't have to be special cased or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether that is going to fly straight off the bat, Anil, especially on the installer part of the pull secret is one thing, but then you also have on the payload side where, the operator does check to see whether someone, whether it's a valid secret to kind of pull all this stuff. So the mechanics over there, as I said, I'm not sure, but I'm sure the Vadim and Christian, it might shed some lights in the coming days or week or so. But what you said, I think, is not for the day one, so to speak. I wouldn't put my money on that.
Well, we have to do something to have it working by Monday.
Yeah, maybe a workaround, a quick hack. But what you said to the transition from OKD to OCP and just swap the secret, I think that's a medium term, so to speak.
Sure, but I'm saying that.
Neil, go ahead.
Whatever. I'm just saying that with the way, if we have a dummy secret value, then we don't have to change too much logic about how it's being validated, because the value can still be used to pull, and it's just, okay, it's fine, and then it just keeps coming down anyway. So it's an open secret or something like that, whatever. It basically allows you to not have to do special casing internally to manage the differences between OKD and OCP, because my experience is that the more special casing we have to do between the two, the less likely OKD is going to stay working.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and until we really merge the fcos branches of MCO and installer back in, we'll sort of have to do things a little hacky, and so in the alpha version we'll get next week, there'll definitely be some workarounds we don't want to do in the long term, like maybe with the pull secret right now. I'll have a look into this this week to figure out what the easiest path is to get something working till next week, but that might, the solution might change in the future. yeah, I don't really have an answer to this right now, but we'll see as we go ahead.
Okay. So I'm just going to read, if any, because someone mentioned KubeCon, if any of you are coming next week for KubeCon, we could walk through some of this as well in the office hours on Tuesday the 19th. And so check back to the agenda, and there's a link to the room. And if you send me your email, I'll invite you officially to that room so you get the directions in your inbox. And if any of you are doing talks or anything like that at KubeCon and can give us a pitch to get more eyeballs on this, that would be wonderful too. And of course, we're going to have a short talk at the gathering by Christian on the 18th. And if you'd like to come to that, just let me know and I'll get you in. So I think probably the question that I have next is, before we go and get Vadim to talk a little bit about instructions on how to build your own, Christian, can you talk a little bit to how you want to gather feedback on this? So, if someone internal and or someone external to Red Hat want to give you log an issue, get in a forum, where do you want to get the information?
So right now we really have multiple options for receiving feedback, which would be the Google group, the mailing list, and the Slack channel. I'm not sure we have a proper place to really file an issue on GitHub yet. We might, I'm not entirely sure what the best way would be, or if we maybe even create a Bugzilla component for that, for people to be able to file bugs on Bugzilla.
There's already an OKD bug category in Red Hat Bugzilla. I don't know if anybody knows it's there or is using it, but it's already there.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I didn't know it was already there, so that might definitely be a place.
Somebody should go look at it and see if it's organized well.
Yeah. So I think once we have the first release out, I'll definitely try to write some instructions on how to give feedback and where to file stuff. I haven't really given this too much thought until now, but yeah, that's definitely a thing I'll figure out. Yeah, and then I'll write to the mailing lists what exactly we came up with.
I would prefer all the issues for this to stay in OpenShift community repository, because we don't know, we our end-to-end tests are not yet passing, and half of our teams are not even aware that OKD on Fedora on CoreOS is a thing. So if you would file a bug for console, for instance, your bug may be rejected immediately because it has a different release image. So we don't want to scare different people. I would rather prefer filing issues in OpenShift community on GitHub. We would triage them and send them to the respective teams.
Yeah,
I would really rather not.
Well,
I'd really rather not.
But if you look in the past, Neil, on the OKD free or free X, it kind of, you had this component, and not many people were internally were chasing this stuff. So what Vadim is saying is just a compromise for now till we get all the ducks in a row, no?
I am aware. I just don't
Right.
want. I don't want code issues in the community repo. There's a perfectly good origin repo that has an issue tracker as well, if we want to use GitHub.
Origin repo. Okay, go on. Sorry, I stopped you. I cut you off.
Yeah, so the origin repo already has an issue tracker, and that makes more sense for where code issues are going to go, because at some point, they all will be OCP issues anyway. So putting them all in the right place, if we're talking about GitHub, is where the code is. The community repo is more about process and procedure and dealing with topics and meetings and whatnot. So I would rather see us, if we're using GitHub issues, let's put them with the code repo, which is OpenShift Origin.
Yeah, but in 4 you have, apart from the origin, you have tons of other gazillions repos, which, as you very well know, form 4x. So maybe what you're saying is fine. Don't use the Bugzilla. Don't use community because it's what it is. Maybe create another Git repo like CoreOS has, right, for the filing
that's
issues.
that's another
Yeah,
option.
I think what Neil is trying to say is let's keep our community like discussions separate from our bugs,
Fine.
and yeah, let's keep the OKD community or the OpenShift community repo at least for discussions, because I feel like bugs are probably going to drown out the discussion at some point, and so having either a separate
They'll do that
repo,
almost immediately.
right. Yeah. So like having either a new repo that we create that's specifically for that, or reusing origin is probably best. If we create a new repo, there's really no reason why we can't move issues around since GitHub has that ability. So for example, if there's a issue that gets opened in the wrong place or there's a more appropriate location for it, if you are a significant owner of the two repos that you want to move, from one to another, then those issues can be moved. So is that a good answer?
Yeah, but don't forget, in terms of being the owner or such, like those that can be done if you're part of the OpenShift org. In other words, if you Red Hat employee. For the community side, I know Clayton done some magic over there to kind of allow, for example, non-Red Hat employee to be able to have more privilege. So I would say rather than them, migrating issues from left, right, center, maybe just come up with just one single repo and then that's it. And that's job done, I would say.
If we do that, it's not that much more different than just reusing the OKD Bugzilla project, because that's already there. We just need to add a 4x component and call it good.
So what is there this is me trying to keep it as simple as possible. Is it possible that we just create a label, OKD4?
The problem is that indexing and searching through them is going to be pretty perilous as it is. I think is within the origin thing, like having labels for bugs, but the problem is the code doesn't all live in the origin repo anymore, which is I think what Vadim was saying, or something.
Danny.
So like,
yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing too is if they all live in the same repo and you just use labels, I might be somebody who just cares about direction and taking part in discussions, and I don't necessarily want every bug report to show up in my inbox. And it's hard to do that if they're all in the same repo.
Yeah, and GitHub doesn't really provide you a good way to subscribe to subsets of issues. So, like, that's more of a feature that Bugzilla has than GitHub does. So, that makes things a lot more complicated. So, I mean, we could just start with the fact that there's an OKD product in Bugzilla, just add a 4x version, and we start from there. If we decide to do something different, it's easy enough to just transition later.
How open is that Bugzilla? I mean, I know that I have to log in to get to Bugzilla and all of that.
People can view it without logging in, and you can search it without logging in. You just have to log in to file a bug report, which is not that different from GitHub.
And you can use your Fedora ID, which
right.
everybody can create for themselves to log in to Bugzilla as well.
And you don't even need a fast ID. You could just create a Red Hat Bugzilla account if you don't want to attach to any SSO. So it's probably the most open of the systems we have.
Right. The only thing I have against Bugzilla, and I'm a Red Hat employee, so it's not like I don't have a Bugzilla account, but I have to admit there have been times where I have not opened bugs because the Bugzilla interface is just not quite as good as, going to where the code or the discussion is already happening and opening a bug there. So like, I obviously will use Bugzilla, but I wonder how many people would choose not to file a bug just because I just feel like GitHub is probably, you'll probably get more there, more participation. And Bugzilla is a little bit hard to navigate sometimes.
So
I agree
can
with
I,
Dusty here
yeah,
because yeah, the Bugzilla user experience is not really great. GitHub is much
I mean,
better.
I can't refute that either. It's just the only thing that makes GitHub a little bit more troublesome is like well, I guess it doesn't really matter, but like one of the nicer things about using Bugzilla is that if there's cross-functional things that need to be fixed, like if there's a FCOS issue along with with an upstream Fedora issue and an OKD issue that then goes into a downstream OCP issue, it's super easy to map those relationships within Bugzilla. GitHub makes this extraordinarily painful to the point that it's not really it doesn't really work out well. But if that's not really a concern that we care about, then that's fine. I don't have a problem with either option. It's just I don't want it to be so. I don't want things like OpenShift community to be cluttered with
I
bugs
gotcha.
or reports.
I gotcha. Can I ask Christian, can you share your screen where the engineering tasks live? Were you tracking the engineering tasks?
Yeah, sure.
And
So the engineering tasks live in the OKD4 project in the GitHub organization on GitHub. So it's like a Kanban board. I'll quickly share my screen.
wondering.
Can you see my screen?
I can, yes.
Oh. So this is the github.com/orgs/OpenShift/projects/1. So I'll paste this in the chat as well. So this is what we use right now to track our work, and it's really across repos, sort of a board. We can pull in any bugs from any repos in the organization. Yeah, in the long run, I mean, some bugs may make sense on the repo themselves, but I think it also makes sense to be able to triage them. Not all the community bugs are going to be accepted by the respective teams. So yeah, this is what we do right now, but we'll need a solution that is a little bit more, more open in the future for people to just report bugs. I think it's either going to be Bugzilla or a new GitHub repo at this point. I'm not sure who will decide that in the end, but we'll try to set this up before the alpha release next Monday.
Yeah. So
Also, in terms of the project planning stuff, like this Kanban thing, the Fedora Taiga instance could be an option for like having a more open setup for this. I don't know how well that would work out for what you want, but at least it's an option. And that one I think also lets you log in with not only FAST, but maybe your GitHub account. So
I'm not sure if you can create an account directly on the Taiga instance, but it would be yet another system for people to. Yeah. So yeah.
Probably a good rule of thumb for now is to keep it simple, and then once we need advanced features, maybe explore other things.
Yeah. So, but I think that was Dusty speaking. Keep it simple. Is that use Bugzilla as is, or keep it simple? Is that
I was just saying this project board that Christian has. We'll use that until we bump up to the limits of it, and then it's no longer serving our needs well enough, and we will explore something else, right? I don't see any reason why
that's fine with me.
Yep.
Okay. So
I just threw that out as a suggestion. That's all.
How would so if we're using this project board here, how would someone log an issue here? Can you just
so right now you can't just add an issue here. I need to pull in an issue from any other repo, or I need to just add a card on one of those. I'm not sure who has the ability to do that, the permissions. So this is probably a triaging thing. So what may be, I'm thinking the most feasible it may probably be just create a new repo to track engineering tasks that we then triage by adding them on this project board. We could do the same from Bugzilla to this project board, but that right now that's still a manual process. Adding it here, I don't think people from outside the organization can add anything on that board right now.
Yeah, can I just, I'm going to take the screen back, hang on a sec, and make a suggestion here, just for now. I think you can see my screen. Can we create another project under community that is OKD for bugs and issues or something like that? And that would be,
So I'm not really sure these projects can, because you can't really create issues in a project. You can create cards or you can link existing issues from other repos.
yeah, so they could log,
Yeah.
this is, I know, Neil, I hear your concern about mixing community stuff, but if people added an issue here with a label bug or whatever you guys want to propose, and then we had a separate project board for OKD, alpha release bugs, and we could triage the bugs here on the community page.
So I would really like to use the org wide board for this, because you can pull in issues from any repo within the org. If you do it in a project within a repo, like a community thing,
You're scoped.
We're scoped.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah,
So,
I was just going to point out that if we're going to use projects, we should always do them org-wide rather than repo-specific, because repo-specific ones have exactly the problems that Christian pointed out.
okay, so I'm there. Thanks for explaining. So let's Christian and I and we'll use Danny as a guinea pig because you're external. We'll work on this week and get that set up. And Danny or whomever else is external on the working group, make you all test it and make sure you have access to it. Because I'd really like, and then we could, again, report a video on next week when Christian and I are face-to-face at KubeCon during the office hours, if nobody comes, but I think people will come, and document it and put it out there in a blog post or transcribe it into a README file or something. So, now that we've beaten that dead horse, which is now a live horse, or will be soon, Vadim, are you still with us? Vadim muted? Is he?
Yep. Let me steal the screen from you.
Steal the screen, and I asked if he would give some instructions, walk through how to build your own OKD4. And this will get updated a few times between now and then probably, but this would be a good way to get started. So take it away, Vadim.
Okay, hope you can read the text in my editor. Hope it's
Yeah,
large.
all good. All good.
It's
Fine for me.
Yep, me too.
So the difference between OCP4 and OCP3 and the same for OKD is that everything we install is now encompassed in one release image. It's also called release payload, release anything. So it's an actual container image in a special format, and you can decode it using command ocaddm release info. Most likely you would have to use a pull secret in order to pull it from Quay, for instance. So the parameter -a, you can put the path to the pull secret and it would be displayed. So shows all the information about it, its name, the nightly it has been branched from, digest, and the most interesting part is a list of images it contains. So it's literally just a container which has references to different images. All of them, most of them are operators, and we pull one by one, set them up, and the whole cluster gets running. So the digest are not really useful if you're planning to work on it, because does change too often. You can show, using parameter commit URLs, you can show the URL for each particular commit this image has been built from. So the way forward, if you have followed the blog instructions on disconnected install, you would mirror all of those release images using command release mirror from its initial part to whatever destination you prefer, and create a new release image in that destination. And these are the official instructions, because later on you would, on OCP4, you would lose your warranty if you change the release image. But in OKD4 world, we can do that. So you can use the command release new to create a new updated image. And we're replacing one single part of that. For instance, we're pointing the cluster network operator to a different image with whatever fix you have prepared. The way to build each operator strongly depends on the way this operator is being built. So that's very specific. You would have to ask maintainers of that package. And after that command, you would get an info how to update your install config so that you would be able to use your mirrored image. So once you're done, you can export an environment variable release image override and point it to your new release image. So that's the usual workflow. You would change something in the release payload, create a new one, and run the cluster with it overriding the default release image. So a few more advanced topics. We are using the very same release image containing the very same 4.3 operators as if they are OCP release, but we are replacing two parts. The OpenShift installer, we're building it from a branch called fcos, and machine config daemon needs the support for Ignition version 3. We also have Fedora CoreOS branch. So if you're planning to create new pull requests there or file images, please add something which knows that it comes to the fcos branch instead of the master. Next topic is we're using a standard Fedora CoreOS images which are released by Fedora CoreOS team, but all of these need additional binaries. In our case, that's Hypercube and Cryo. So we have created a simple repo which shows how to add them to your payload. Previously, if you have noticed, there is a special operator which is called MachineOS content. That's not, in fact, an actual operator. It's not a set of Kubernetes YAMLs. It's an OS3 commit packed in the shape of the container. So here we have a Docker file which does a very similar thing to what we do in our CI when we're building the MachineOS content for Fedora CoreOS. So here we using the CoreOS assembler as a base. We would need it later on to add additional binaries to our payload. We are using a fork of machine config operator because we also need a binary from it. And in the entry point, we first of all, we fetch the latest stream from Fedora CoreOS. What we need from it in this massive bash, we need a path to the OS3 commit tar. Later on, we fetch it and extract it to the repo. Then we fetch a few RPMs using yum downloader. Here are the list of packages we need. So the core meltdown is Cryo, OpenShift, Hypercube, and clients, and a few packages for clusterfs so that our end-to-end test would pass. And here is the list of repos we're using. So once the yum downloader has fetched all the RPMs, we extract them and move a few folders to accommodate to the RPM-OS3 layout of the files. For instance, etc is stored in user, sbin is a symlink to user sbin, so we have to copy all the binaries there and remove it. And once we're done, we would call command CoreOS assembler def overlay and build a new OS3 commit, tag it with the same ref we used previously. And that would be our updated machinOS content. We need all of those sorts of...
All of these steps are things that, are kind of hacky stuff for now. It's not always going to be like this, right?
These are hacky stuff because we need unprivileged builds on our CI. In a proper way, you would build your own fork of Fedora CoreOS using CoreOS assembler, for instance.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, this is just like an intermediate step to get us something now, right?
Yes, we have to depend on whatever Fedora CoreOS is releasing. We cannot afford ourselves a new stream and deal with Fedora things. That's too much work.
Right, and
so
some
we
of the
have
work
to use
we're going to do in the future is to get better alignment there so that the differences aren't as great, right?
Yes. On the other hand, it's just a matter of getting privileged builder in our CI. So we'll see which way we will go.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
That's pretty much all I've got. I will drop a link to the notes and all the repos in the document.
Would it be appropriate to put that note in some form in the community repo somewhere, or somewhere public, or is that just too hacky at the moment?
No, that would work. We just need the real full specs for the images once we release them and push them to Quay.
It would be the more we can keep in the repo, the better, in my humble opinion. Can you go back to a minute ago, and I'm gonna, yeah, just asking about the two alternatives. There's a Fedora CoreOS builder installer, and then the other thing was, can you explain that a little bit more? The CI piece,
yeah,
just for me.
Yeah. So on CI, we fetch the exact OS3 commit Fedora CoreOS is using, and then we update it using CoreOS assembler dev scripts, because that one doesn't require privileges. We literally run it in an OpenShift build. Eventually, we would move to a more privileged build, and we would update RPM-DB using CoreOS assembler's other features to actually create a new commit. That would require virtualization because that image has to be booted. But on the other hand, that would update RPM-DB, which we don't do now. So these are the options we have right now. But the first option is our start point. We're using it now, but we're definitely going to kick it away at some point.
For those of us who are still stuck in the OpenShift Ansible script playbook, rather, it's a transition. So I'm 3 to 4, so I'm still catching up there. Thank you. Any other questions? There seems to be a couple in the chat.
Maybe let me just add to that. And what we're doing right now is the binaries, most of the binaries we overlay, that we extract from the RPMs in that script, are built in a CentOS environment on CI. So we sort of ditch in CentOS, build binaries into a Fedora image, which doesn't have to be a problem necessarily. I would really like to try in the longer run to build all the binaries in a Fedora environment as well, so we can be sure there's no problems due to the drift between build system and the system that the thing is actually running on. There are some blockers for that though, like we have a few patches on the Golang compiler in CentOS and RHEL that we don't ship in Fedora. And yeah, we're actually going to discuss this this week here in Boston internally to see what the way forward with this will be. But right now, the binaries we put on the FCOS machine OS content are built in a CentOS environment. Just to add that context to this.
You might have just blown my mind, but that's okay.
Hey, Vadim, I have a quick one for you. The CVO, based on your quick test you done, does that work nicely with the injecting a new version, or based on FCOS and such like, or that's not sorted yet?
Yeah, CVO doesn't really care which exact operators are you inserting there. It would just
Gotcha.
apply them. It's a
Mhm.
matter of machine OS. We had to patch machine config daemon to properly apply oyster commits with ignition version 3.
Mhm. Okay. Cheers.
All right then. So let's see. Does that answer everybody's questions from the chat? And Philip, I'll see why it's not on the playlist. It's up there in the YouTube. He's asking about the recording from the last meeting. I'll add it to the playlist. I must have forgotten to. Apologies for that. Anything else?
When do you think what was just presented will be posted out so we can start tinkering with it?
Well, I'm hoping Monday.
Okay.
Next. Probably that means Christian. Are you in Boston the whole week on East Coast time, Christian?
Yeah, exactly. I'll fly over to San Diego on Saturday.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my goal is to have it, whether it's Vadim's raw notes up there and a demo done at the gathering on the 18th of November by Christian, and be able to do, send an email to the OKD working group and to the Commons and other mailing lists to ask people to take a look at it and give us their feedback.
Okay. Excellent.
So that's, if you look in the notes, if you have a platform like James was talking about, bare metal or whatever, that you would like to take on testing this on, please. The notes the notes link is here again. Let me see if I can grab it. It's in the chat at the very top. And yeah, basically now what we're on the road looking for is people to, that notes, maybe you're not meaning, James, the notes from,
Well, he wants the notes from Vadim, and Vadim already said he's gonna, after the call, he's gonna provide some bits and pieces. Whether that's store in Git or in this Google Doc as a link or whatever, we'll figure out. But
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if you would just drop a note in the mailing list,
Yeah.
John, that'd be great. Yeah, I've got a small stack of Intel NUCs. For the bare metal, does it require IPMI, or would it work on something like the little Intel NUCs?
It should work on Intel NUCs using the UPI flow. With IPI, yeah, you need APMI or something else. The metal cube wouldn't stand.
Yeah,
But UPMI way definitely will work.
okay. I could use virtual BMC.
Yeah. So
Well, it doesn't matter because the IPI for bare metal doesn't work anyway. So.
Oh.
oops. All right. So going back to the working group meetings here, I know I took you off, Dusty, off about the packet stuff. Still not ready for that, and we're almost at the end of the hour. So I think that's all we have for today. I'm going to move this back over here. Unless there's another topic somebody wants to address. And please, anyone who is coming to KubeCon, let me know. My email address is dmueller@redhat.com. So, and I'll get you you do not need to be registered for KubeCon to come to the OKD working group session, because it's in a room outside of the convention center at the Marriott, the Gaslight Marriott on the 8th floor, on November 19th. So we didn't want to exclude people if they didn't have passes come to KubeCon. So I don't think we may boot up a Blue Jean sessions if people are interested in that, and have it just hosted virtually as well. If that's something people are interested in doing next week, I'll certainly send the note out about that.
That might be interesting. It just depends on what time that is.
It is going to be Pacific time, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. next on the 19th.
Might be interesting.
I'll set up a virtual invite and put it on the calendar and send it to the working group, and we'll just see how it rolls.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Yeah, absolutely, because I've actually got a free block of time during there. Okay. You said that was the 19th?
I'm pretty sure.
Yep, the 19th, Tuesday. I don't know what that is at Eastern. I can't add anymore, but
so if it's 11 a.m., then that means it's 1 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
Or no, it's 3 hours, right? So 2 p.m. Damn it, I can't math.
Neither can I. Not this morning.
That's okay.
Oh no, that fits in for me.
Okay, so let's do that, and maybe we can just use it as to make sure that our documentation is right for the update process as well, and just use those 2 hours wisely, because we have Christian in for a few more hours, and then he has to run to the airport because he's not staying for KubeCon. But if you know anybody from any of your respective companies or organizations that are coming to KubeCon, let them know, and I'll send out a note again to the OKD working group. So that's what we have for today. And gone. Everybody gets what? Whole whacking 7 minutes back of your hour. Thank you very much, Vadim, for all of your efforts, and Christian, amazing that we've gotten this far. And I really can't wait to show it off next week. So well done, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you all for joining in.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And I will edit and get the playlist updated too. So grab all the notes.
Fine.
Yeah.
All right.
No.
Have a great day.